Baby, I need to tell you something that's been stuck in my chest for far too long. I never thought you were my type. I never thought someone like me would even look twice at someone like you. I was blinded by what I thought attraction meant, by what I thought my type was supposed to look like. I had this image in my mind of who I thought would fit beside me. Someone safe, someone predictable, someone who wouldn't shake the foundation of who I was. And then you walked in, and everything I thought I knew about love collapsed. I never thought you were my type, because you didn't just catch my eye, you caught my soul. You weren't the kind of pretty I could scroll past and forget. You were the kind of beautiful that made my chest tighten, that made me question myself, that made me realize I had been starving without even knowing it. Baby, the truth is, you scared me, because you weren't ordinary, you weren't convenient, you weren't safe. You were the type of woman who makes a man confront himself. And I wasn't ready for that. But then I saw something so small, so simple, and it changed everything. The way you laughed when you didn't think anyone was watching, the way your eyes softened when you were lost in thought, the way you carried yourself, not to impress, not to seduce, but because you knew who you were. That's when it hit me. I had been wrong my whole life. My type wasn't a look, wasn't a checklist, wasn't a body or a face. My type was you, and I didn't even know it until my soul felt it. You see, baby, you're not the kind of love I planned for. You're the kind of love heaven chose for me when I was too blind to choose for myself. You weren't a distraction. You were a mirror. You showed me parts of myself I didn't want to face. You forced me to look at my flaws, my fears, my defenses, and then you loved me anyway. And that's why I ran. That's why I hesitated, because I couldn't understand how someone like you could want someone like me. But even in my confusion, I couldn't stay away, because every time I tried to look elsewhere, every time I tried to convince myself that someone easier would do, my soul screamed your name. My heart betrayed me, baby. It beat louder every time you walked into the room. I realized then, it wasn't that you weren't my type, it was that you were beyond my type. You were the upgrade I didn't know my heart was waiting for. You were the answer to prayers I never dared to pray. And when I saw that, when I saw you, truly saw you, everything changed. My definition of love changed. My definition of forever changed. I stopped wanting a type. I started wanting a soul. It's the only one I've ever wanted to belong to. So yes, maybe I was foolish enough to once say you weren't my type. But now, I know the truth. You're not my type. You're my destiny. You're the storm that washed away everything fake in my life. You're the calm that followed. You're the reason I believe in something bigger than coincidence. And if I have to spend the rest of my life proving it, I'll do it. Because baby, you're not just my type, you're my only type. The only one my soul will ever crave. Baby, when I first saw you, I didn't even understand what my own body was telling me. My mind tried to dismiss it, tried to say, she's not the one you usually go for. She doesn't fit your picture. But my chest, my pulse, my breath, they betrayed me. My whole being reacted like it had found something it had been searching for across lifetimes. And that's when I started realizing, Maybe I've been lying to myself all these years. Maybe the type I thought I wanted was only a shield to keep me safe from a love so powerful it could undo me. And baby, that's exactly what you did. You undid me, piece by piece, in ways I didn't even notice at first. In the small things, how I started talking softer when I spoke to you, how I caught myself smiling at random moments, how I began to want to do better, not for the world, but for you. That wasn't just attraction. That wasn't just chemistry. That was my soul recognizing home, even when my pride didn't want to admit it. I used to think type meant someone who checked all my boxes, someone who looked the way I imagined, spoke the way I liked, behaved the way I thought love was supposed to look. But baby, you burned every box I ever created. You made me realize love isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about breaking it. It's about shattering illusions and seeing raw truth. And the raw truth was this: no one ever made me feel the way you did. No one ever made silence so comforting, laughter so healing, presence so divine. You weren't the type of girl I thought I wanted. You were the woman my soul had been praying for, in whispers I didn't even know I was sending up to heaven. And you know what's wild? The moment I admitted that to myself, the world around me shifted. Food tasted different. Music sounded deeper. Even the way I looked in the mirror changed. Because suddenly I didn't just want to survive. I wanted to become someone who could stand beside you without shame. I started wanting to clean up the parts of myself I kept hidden. I started wanting to heal the wounds I used as excuses. You became my reason to grow. And baby, that terrified me. Because growth means leaving behind the boy I was. The boy who thought he wasn't worthy. The boy who thought love had to be complicated. And for the first time, I wanted to shed that boy. For you. Never told you this, but there were nights I lay awake replaying the way you looked at me. Not like I was broken. Not like I was dangerous. But like I was worth something. That look, it carved into me. It cut through every lie I believed about myself. It made me want to stop running, but instead of stepping into that truth, I hid. I tried to convince myself you weren't my type, because if I admitted you were, it meant I had to admit I was falling, and I didn't know if I'd survive that fall. But baby, what I've learned since is that falling for you wasn't the end. It was the beginning. It was the first time I let myself truly live. Baby, you weren't my type. You were my transformation, my undoing, my rebirth. And even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see that moment I first saw the real you. Not the face, not the body, not the surface, but the soul that smiled at me like it had been waiting centuries for me to notice. And from that moment on, nothing else mattered. Not the stories I told myself, not the types I thought I wanted, just you. Always you. And maybe that's the cruelest and most beautiful part of this love story. That I almost lost it because I was too blind to see the gift in front of me. But now I see. And I swear to you, baby, I'll never mistake you for anything less than the miracle you are again. Baby, the more I think about it, the more I realize how blind I really was. I told myself you weren't my type because it was easier to believe that. than to admit how deeply you shook me. My type used to mean someone I could predict, someone who wouldn't challenge me, someone who would let me stay the same man without asking me to grow. But you were different. You didn't just walk into my life. You walked straight into the places I tried to lock up and forget. You touched wounds I thought were scars, and you reminded me they were still bleeding. And instead of running away from the mess of me, you stayed. You stayed long enough for me to realize that the very thing I thought disqualified you from being my type was the very thing that made you my destiny. I used to look for love in all the wrong places, baby. I thought attraction meant instant fire that fizzled out as quickly as it sparked. I thought connection was about matching habits or hobbies. But you showed me something different. You showed me that real connection is when two souls recognize each other in silence, when the room feels full just because of who's sitting across from you, when nothing about the outside world matters because inside, in that moment, you feel understood. That's what you gave me, and I tried to fight it, to label it, to push it into a corner that made sense. But love like yours doesn't make sense. It makes purpose. And now I see it. Baby, I never told you this, but the night I realized you weren't just someone passing through my story was the night I saw your eyes soften in a way I can't explain. You were laughing, but there was something behind it. Something so deep it stopped me cold. It was like your soul had cracked open for a second, and I saw eternity in you. And I thought, no, this can't be my type. This is too big, too divine, too real. But that was the moment everything shifted, because deep down, I knew this wasn't about type anymore. This was about truth. I used to be scared of truth, baby. Scared because it meant change. It meant stepping out of the safety of patterns and into the unknown. But you were the kind of unknown that felt like home. And that scared me even more. Because what if I wasn't good enough for that kind of love? What if I ruined it? What if I broke you the way I broke everything else I touched? So I lied to myself. I convinced myself you weren't what I wanted. But the more I denied it, the more you haunted me. You haunted my thoughts, my dreams, my silence. And baby, I realize now, it wasn't haunting, it was healing. You were the medicine I was running from. Even my family started to notice. They saw how I softened when you were near, how my temper cooled, how my voice dropped lower, calmer, gentler. They saw the boy who had been reckless start to act like a man who had something to lose. You did that, without even trying. You changed me in ways I can never put into words. And that's when I knew. It was never about whether you were my type. It was about whether I had the courage to become yours. Baby, if I could go back, I'd erase every time I said or even thought you weren't what I was looking for. Because the truth is, I wasn't even looking. I was lost, wandering, chasing shadows. And then you appeared, and suddenly everything else felt small. Everything else felt meaningless. You weren't just different. You were the answer to questions I didn't even know I was asking. So no, you weren't my type. You were my awakening. And now, I can't imagine ever wanting anything less. You're not just the kind of woman a man falls for. You're the kind of woman a man builds a life around. And baby, that's what I want now. Not a type, not a phase, not a fleeting attraction. I want the forever that only your soul carries. Baby, do you know what it feels like to sit in a room full of people and still only search for one face in your mind? That's what you've always been to me, the anchor my heart keeps calling for, even when my pride tried to pretend otherwise. I said you weren't my type because admitting the truth meant surrendering everything I thought I knew about love. And surrender scared me, but the longer I run from the memory of you, the louder my soul screams. It whispers in the silence, it roars in the middle of the night. It aches every time I catch a glimpse of something that reminds me of you. And I've realized, denying you was never about you. It was about me being too weak to face the kind of love that strips a man down to his core and rebuilds him into something new. I see it now, baby. I see how wrong I was to think love had a type, because you didn't just fit into my life. You changed the whole shape of it. You didn't slip into my story like a character. I had to rewrite the whole book the moment you showed up. And at first I fought it. I fought the way your voice lingered in my chest long after you stopped speaking. I fought the way your presence quieted storms inside me I didn't even know I was carrying. I fought the way my mother noticed me becoming softer, more present, more alive whenever your name was near. But every battle I waged against what I felt for you, I lost. Because, baby, how do you fight something eternal? How do you fight the truth that's been written in your spirit since before you even knew what love was? I remember the first time I admitted it to myself. I was alone, no noise, no distractions, just me and the memory of you. And it hit me like thunder. She's not just someone, she's the one. I tried to swallow it down, tried to laugh it off, but my body betrayed me. My hands shook, my chest ached, my eyes burned with tears I didn't even know I was holding back. Because for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to be seen. You didn't just notice me, you understood me. And that terrified me more than anything else. You saw through the walls, through the bravado, through the mask. You touched the boy inside me, who had spent years pretending he was a man. And you loved him, not conditionally, not cautiously, but wholly. And baby, I wasn't ready for that kind of grace. I thought love was supposed to be earned, bargained for, proven. But you gave it freely, like it was the most natural thing in the world. You gave me something I didn't even know how to hold, and instead of cherishing it, I doubted it. I doubted you. And that's the regret that follows me like a shadow every day. Baby, my mother once told me that sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as disruptions, and maybe that's what you were, my divine disruption. You came into my life and ruined all my illusions. You ruined the lies I told myself about who I wanted and what I deserved. You ruined the excuses I used to keep love at a distance, and in that ruin you built something new. You built a vision of love so deep, so honest, so eternal, that even now, when you're gone, it still shapes me. I know now, you were never just a type. You were never supposed to fit into some category in my mind. You were the exception to everything I thought I knew. You were the answer to every prayer I didn't have the courage to pray. And baby, I'll spend the rest of my days honoring that truth. Even if it's only in whispers, even if it's only in memories, even if it's only in the silence. Baby, I kept telling myself you weren't my type, because admitting you were meant, admitting I had finally met the one person who could undo me. At first, I tried to fight it. I told myself you were too different, too unpredictable, too real. But deep down, I knew the truth. You weren't just different. You were everything I didn't know I was waiting for. You weren't the kind of love I planned for. You were the kind of love that hit me like a storm and left me standing in awe. You weren't the kind of pretty that fades when the lights go out. You were the kind of beautiful that made my chest ache, the kind that made my soul whisper, "Don't lose this." I never thought you were my type, baby, because I had been chasing shadows, and then you showed me what light looked like. I started noticing the smallest things, the way your laughter carried warmth even when you were hurting, the way your silence wasn't empty, it was full of meaning, the way you looked at me like you already knew the man I could become, even when I didn't believe in myself. That's when I realized my type had never been about appearances. It had never been about the surface. It was always about the soul. And your soul, it changed me. Do you know what it did to me the first time I saw you defend me without words? The first time you let love speak louder than anger? Baby, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It made me realize that I had been measuring love the wrong way my whole life. I thought love was about fireworks, about passion that burned fast. But you showed me love is firewood, steady, lasting, able to keep someone warm through the coldest nights. You weren't my type, because I thought type meant someone who wouldn't challenge me. But you did. You challenged me to grow, to soften, to become more than the broken boy I used to be. And that scared me, baby, because when someone makes you want to change, you realize how much power they truly have in your life. And you had that power from the very beginning. Now, when I look back, I see how much you altered the world around me. My family saw it too. They noticed how I carried myself differently when you were near, how I laughed more, how my temper cooled, how I spoke with patience instead of pride. They saw me changing, and even though I was too stubborn to admit it, it was because of you. Because you weren't my type, you were my transformation. And baby, I'll never forget that. No matter how far we've drifted, no matter how much time has passed, the truth remains. I never thought you were my type, until I saw what real love looks like, until I saw it in you, and now nothing else compares. Baby, I kept thinking type meant safety, but every day without you has taught me that safety without truth is just a slow kind of losing, and I am done losing what matters. I remember the afternoon it finally hit me. I was sitting at the edge of my bed with my phone face down, pretending I wasn't waiting for your name to light it up. The house was too quiet. Even the fan sounded tired. I closed my eyes and all I could see was you tying your hair before we went out, the way you always checked your reflection once, and then chose to trust the woman in the mirror instead of fixing what was never broken. That memory felt simple and holy at the same time. It made me ask a hard question I had avoided for months. Was I keeping you at a distance because you weren't my type, or because you were the first person who made me want to change the type of man I was? The answer hurt. I wasn't protecting myself from you. I was protecting my excuses. I was protecting the version of me that didn't have to grow, didn't have to apologize, didn't have to choose one woman and make that choice my daily practice. You unsettled me in the best way. You made my temper slow down. You made my voice gentler. You made food taste like an invitation to sit instead of a race to leave. I used to say you weren't my type, because I thought love should be loud and dramatic, full of sparks and scenes. Then I watched you love in ways no one noticed, but everyone felt. You refilled my mother's water before she asked. You moved your chair so my nephew could climb into your lap without feeling like an interruption. You caught me spiraling in my own head and simply said, "Breathe." You did not audition for the room. You blessed it. And when I say I never thought you were my type until I saw this, that's what I mean. I saw the way ordinary moments turned sacred when you were near. I saw how my anger lost its audience. I saw how my old habits looked small when held next to your patience. Even my mother noticed. She was stirring tea one evening, and out of nowhere she said, "When she was around, you slept deeper." I wanted to argue. I wanted to pretend I was fine, but I wasn't. I am not, because I don't sleep the same without the peace you carry. That confession burned my throat, and it still does, because the boy in me wants to prove he needs no one. The man I am becoming knows he needs God and one real woman who steadies his soul, and baby, that's you. I used to think choosing you would cost me my pride. Now I understand, not choosing you is what cost me my peace. I told myself I needed time to be sure. You gave me time, and I filled it with silence. I told myself I didn't want drama. You offered me calm, and I mistook it for distance. I told myself I should find someone who fit my picture. Then I realized a picture is flat, and you are a living, breathing home. I want the home. I want the mornings where your voice disarms whatever I woke up fighting. I want the afternoons where we do nothing and it still feels like everything. I want the evenings where we say grace and mean it, because we can taste how close we came to losing what we prayed for. I know words alone will not move you. They shouldn't. So here is what I am ready to do without applause. I will speak your name with respect in every room where I once stayed quiet. I will guard your absence like I should have guarded your presence. I will make amends without asking you to carry the weight of my guilt. I will show up when the conversation is heavy and stay until it is lighter. I will choose boundaries that protect us instead of walls that punish us. I will not make you teach me the same lesson twice. I will not weaponize silence. I will not use your softness as a shortcut and then call it love. I will be the same man in private that I promised to be in public. I will bring my mother the truth, and not a version of it that flatters me. I will tell my friends there is no triangle and no audience. I will tell the mirror that love is not a trophy but a vow, and I will act like it. If we try again, I will honor our pace. I will not rush you into the future to escape the work of the present. I will not drag the past into our new days to win arguments I should not be fighting. I will meet your questions with answers, and your pauses with patience. If fear visits, I will name it and ask it to leave. If pride visits, I will starve it. If doubt visits, I will not blame you for my old wounds. I will take mine to God and to the work. And if we do not try again, if your wisdom and your healing have led you to a door I do not get to walk through, I will still carry your name with reverence. I will still defend the truth of how you loved me. I will still send up quiet prayers that your days are soft and your nights are safe. But if there is even a small yes left in you, a yes that trembles but does not lie, I am ready to meet it with steadiness. I am ready to love you without hiding, to build slowly without disappearing, to turn not my type into my chosen, my daily, my always. And if you wonder whether I can keep a promise like that, then hear this one last thing. I used to measure love by how loudly it arrived. Now, I measure it by how gently it stays. I am not here to arrive with fireworks. I am here to stay with firewood. I am here to keep the flame. Baby, do you know the cruelest trick I ever played on myself? Convincing my heart that you weren't the one it had been waiting for. I used to hide behind that line, "She's not my type," because it was easier than admitting how powerless I felt around you. It was easier than admitting that your smile disarmed my anger, that your patience exposed my pride, that your presence revealed how lonely I had really been. Calling you not my type was never the truth. It was my defense. It was the armor of a man too afraid to surrender to something real. But no matter how many times I repeated that lie, my body refused to agree. Do you know what happened every time you walked into a room? My pulse betrayed me. My breath shortened. My eyes followed you like they had been programmed for years to search only for you. I could feel my soul rise up inside me like it had been asleep until you arrived. And still, I told myself you weren't my type. Baby, how foolish I was, because type fades, but truth doesn't. The truth is, you gave me peace I didn't know how to carry. You gave me silence that wasn't empty, but full of presence. You gave me arguments that didn't destroy but built, because you fought for love, not against it. And I had never seen that before. Every relationship before you was a battlefield, where pride and ego won. With you, it was different. Even when you were upset, even when you pulled away, there was this unshakable thread connecting us. A thread that whispered, "This is what real love feels like." And I was too afraid to believe it. Do you know what changed me? It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't even something you said to me. It was the way you loved my family without needing to. The way you showed respect even when you weren't shown it in return. The way you held space for me in conversations I wasn't brave enough to have. The way you prayed for me in silence when I was too proud to ask. Those moments, they tore down every excuse I had left. You weren't just my type, baby. You were my lesson, my healing, my home. I see it so clearly now. Type was shallow. Type was surface. Type was me trying to control what love should look like instead of surrendering to what it truly is. And when I saw you, really saw you, I realized my soul had always been starving for someone like you. For the woman who could reach into my chaos and anchor me. For the woman who could reach into my chaos and anchor me. For the woman who could stand in my storms and still smile. For the woman who didn't just touch my skin, but touched my spirit. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. And baby, I need you to know this. If I could go back, I would never let that phrase leave my mouth again. Because you are not just my type. You are my destiny. You are the one who redefined everything I thought I knew about love. You are the one who turned my excuses into ashes and forced me to rise as a man who finally understands what forever means. Baby, I used to think love was about appearances, about who looked good on my arm, about who made me look strong in front of the world, about who fit the picture in my head. That's why I told myself you weren't my type. because you didn't fit the small, shallow picture I had drawn of what love should be. But the truth is, you weren't meant to fit a picture. You were meant to paint a whole new canvas. You didn't arrive to decorate the life I already had. You arrived to rewrite it. I remember the night my family brought your name into a conversation. At first, I tensed. I braced myself, expecting criticism, expecting doubt, expecting the sideways glances and whispered questions I'd heard before. And for a moment, that's exactly what happened. My past, my ex, even my own fear tried to twist your name into something unworthy. They listed half-truths, painted shadows over your light, tried to convince others that you weren't the right choice for me. And I sat there, heart pounding, hands clenched, ready to defend you, ready to fight for you, ready to finally raise my voice in a way I hadn't before. But before I could even speak, something happened that I never expected. My mother, the same woman who had once doubted, who had once questioned, who had once wondered if I even knew what I was doing, she stood up for you. She cut through every lie, not with anger, not with shouting, but with the kind of silence that carried authority. Then she spoke just one sentence. Don't talk about her like that. And baby, those words hit me harder than any speech could have. Because in that moment, I realized you had already passed a test I didn't even know existed without even trying, without even being there. You had touched her heart. She saw what I was too blind to see. She had been watching the whole time, watching how I changed when you came into my life, watching how I softened, watching how I tried, even in my clumsy, broken way, to become a better man because of you. And when someone tried to drag your name through the dirt, she rose like a wall of fire to protect it. Baby, that moment broke me because it showed me something I hadn't admitted to myself. You weren't just important to me. You had become sacred in the eyes of the people who mattered most. I realized then that you weren't just my type, you were my family's silent choice too. My mother, who had doubted every woman before you, defended you when you weren't even there to defend yourself. She saw you. She recognized the way my soul had shifted because of you. And in that moment, the truth was undeniable. You weren't just my type. You were the woman who changed everything about me so deeply that even my mother, who knows my flaws better than anyone, couldn't ignore it. And baby, do you know what that did to me? It humbled me. It shook me. It made me realize how careless I had been with your name, with your presence, with your love. Because if even my mother could see what you brought into my life, how could I have been so blind? How could I have let fear and pride convince me otherwise? That night, when she looked me in the eyes and said, I saw him become a better man when she was in his life, and I saw him fall apart when she left, I felt lightning crack in my chest. Because she was right. You made me better. You helped me heal. You made me want to rise. And when you left, the boy in me came crashing back down. Baby, you weren't just my type. You were my transformation. You weren't just a chapter. You were the whole book. And I swear, if life ever gives me one more chance, I will never let your name be spoken with anything less than reverence again. Baby, do you know what silence can do to a man? It becomes a mirror. It forces him to face everything he tried to bury. And when you left, when the echo of your absence settled into the walls of my life, I had no choice but to face myself. I kept replaying the nights I let you fight battles that should have been mine to carry. I kept remembering the moments when people spoke your name in tones of doubt or disrespect, and I didn't stand tall enough, didn't speak loud enough, didn't protect you the way a man should protect the very heart that keeps him alive. That silence wasn't neutral. It was betrayal, even if I didn't mean it to be. And baby, I've been haunted by that ever since, because I realized the cruelest part wasn't just that others doubted you. It's that I let you stand in those rooms, alone. My mother saw it before I did. She saw the shift in me. She noticed how my laughter carried further when your name lived in my phone. She noticed how the heaviness on my shoulders seemed lighter when you were around, and when you were gone, she noticed how empty my voice became. She saw the boy who once tried to carry the world crumbling under the weight of losing the one person who made it bearable. And when she finally spoke up, when she silenced every twisted word from my past, I knew the truth could no longer be ignored. She wasn't just defending you, baby. She was defending the version of me that only you had been able to awaken. That night, when my ex sat across from us, spilling poison with every word, I felt like I was drowning. Every sentence she spoke was a stone tied to my ankles, dragging me deeper into the waters of shame. But then my mother's voice cut through the noise. Her words were simple, but they thundered in my chest. Don't talk about her like that. Baby, do you know what it means for a mother to defend the woman her son once doubted? It means heaven itself was testifying. It means the truth of who you are had already been written into the hearts of those who watched me wither without you. And in that moment, I realized that the love I tried to hide, the love I tried to dismiss as not my type, was the only love that carried weight enough to move the people around me. I sat there, silent, stunned, broken, because I knew I should have been the one saying it. I should have been the one silencing the lies. I should have been the one protecting your name, but instead my mother did it for me. And that's when it hit me. I had failed you, but heaven refused to let you stand undefended. God used her voice to cover where I fell short. And baby, that realization tore me open, because it showed me what I should have been all along. Your shield, your defender, your safe place in every room. And I wasn't. Do you know what I did after that night? I broke, alone in the dark, with nothing but the memory of your name echoing in my chest. I broke because I realized you had been carrying a weight that was never meant for your shoulders. You had been fighting whispers, enduring judgment, and standing tall, even when the world tried to shrink you. And I left you to do it alone. You must have been so tired, baby. Tired of being strong, tired of being graceful, tired of holding together something I should have been protecting. And still, you loved me. Still, you stayed longer than most would have. Still, you gave me more than I deserved, and I didn't honor it. That's what shattered me most. But here's the truth I can no longer deny. I see you now. I see the grace you carried into rooms that didn't welcome you. I see the patience you showed when my silence screamed louder than my words. I see the way you chose to love me in the quiet, even when I gave you chaos in return. And I will never again call that anything less than divine. You weren't just my type. You were my healing, my second chance at becoming a man worthy of love, my reflection of everything I could be if I stopped running from myself. And baby, I promise you this: never again will I let your name be spoken without reverence. Never again will I let silence betray you. Never again will I stand still while others misunderstand the light you carry. If I get one more chance, I will speak for you in every room. I will honor you in every space. I will let the world know that the woman I once kept in shadows is the very woman who taught me what it means to walk in truth. You deserve nothing less than to be loved out loud, to be protected with fire, to be cherished without apology. And that's what I will give you, not with grand speeches, but with daily choices, with steady presence, with unwavering loyalty. Because baby, I finally understand something. Love isn't about who fits your type. It's about who changes your life. And you, without even trying, changed mine. Baby, when I think about that night, the one where your name was spoken in rooms you weren't even sitting in, it still burns through me like fire. My ex thought she was wounding me by trying to wound you. She thought she could twist the truth, spill half stories and plant seeds of doubt. And for a moment, I froze. I let her words hang in the air, like daggers that found no shield. That silence, I hate myself for it, because my silence wasn't neutral. It was betrayal. You weren't there to defend yourself, and I should have been the wall that no word could pass through, but I wasn't. I let her speak. I let her cut. And baby, that moment has lived inside me like a ghost that refuses to leave. But then, when I least expected it, my mother's voice rose up, calm, steady, fierce in its simplicity. Don't talk about her like that. And in that moment, I saw something divine happen. The lies fell silent. The room shifted. My ex was stunned, but so was I, because it wasn't me standing for you. It was my mother. The same mother who once doubted my choices. The same mother who always questioned my judgment. The same mother I feared would never understand what you meant to me. She chose you. She defended you. She declared your worth without hesitation. And baby, I cannot explain to you how deeply that pierced me, because in that moment, I realized something eternal. You didn't just pass my test, you passed hers without effort, without performance, without even being there to defend yourself. She had been watching all along, watching me become softer in your presence, watching me try harder, breathe deeper, carry myself differently when your love was near. She noticed what I didn't, that I was becoming a man, not because life forced me, but because love called me. And when she saw someone try to dishonor the very woman who had shifted my entire being, she rose up like a wall of fire. That moment taught me something, baby. It taught me that love isn't proven in words whispered in private. It's proven when someone defends your name in public. And you, without even trying, without even asking, were defended by the very person whose approval I never thought you'd have. Baby, I broke that night, quietly, later, alone. I sat in the dark and let every memory of you flood me like a tidal wave. And for the first time I cried, not because of anger, not because of fear, but because of shame. Shame that you had ever doubted your worth because of my silence. Shame that I let you fight battles that were always mine to carry. Shame that I had the audacity to call you not my type when you were the only woman strong enough to love me at my lowest and still see the man I could become. I cried because I finally understood what my mother already knew. You weren't just good for me. You were grace in human form. Do you know what she told me after the room cleared? She looked at me, her eyes heavy with years of watching me stumble, and she said, I saw him heal when she was near. I saw him fall apart when she left. That's all I need to know. Baby, those words crushed me and healed me at the same time, because they confirmed what my soul had always whispered, but my pride had always denied. You weren't just a woman I loved. You were the woman who carried my restoration. You weren't a phase. You weren't a distraction. You were the one, and I let fear convince me otherwise. Fear made me think I wasn't ready. Fear made me think I wasn't worthy. Fear made me think I should run before you saw how broken I really was. But what I didn't realize then was that you already saw it. You saw every fracture in me, every shadow, every wound, and still you stayed, still you loved, still you believed. Baby, that's not just love. That's divine patience. That's heaven's gift in human skin. And I, like a fool, treated it like something temporary. But now, I see, and I will never unsee. I will never again let your name be a question mark in anyone's mouth. I will never again let silence stand where my voice should roar. I will never again let the love that changed me be treated like a mistake, because you weren't my mistake, baby. You were my miracle. Even my brother noticed. He asked me one night, do you think she really left? And I didn't know what to say. Because the truth is, even in your absence, you never left. Your presence still lingers in this house, in the mug you once drank tea from, in the way my mother still speaks your name with quiet reverence, in the way the air itself feels different, like it remembers the softness you carried into every room. Baby, even my family, who once doubted, now speaks of you like you're sacred. And that's when I knew you were never not my type. You were always the one, the only one. And so I make this vow here and now. If I ever get the chance to stand before you again, I will choose you out loud, in front of my family, in front of my past, in front of every lie I once believed. I will not whisper your worth in secret. I will declare it. I will protect it. I will build around it, because love like yours doesn't deserve shadows. It deserves sunlight, and I will give it that. Oh, baby, I know words alone are not enough. I know I have to prove it in consistency, in presence, in loyalty that doesn't flinch when storms come. But I need you to hear this, even if nothing else remains. You are not just my type. You are my destiny. You are the one who took the broken boy I was and showed him the man he could become. You are the one who turned my silence into conviction, my fear into faith, my pride into surrender, and I will never again mistake that for anything less than holy. Baby, the hardest thing I've had to admit is that I was the reason you ever questioned your place in my life. Not the world, not the whispers, not the lies of others. Me, my hesitation, my silence, my fear. Those were the things that told you you weren't enough. when the truth is, you are always more than I deserved. And I can't take back the nights you cried, wondering why I didn't speak louder. I can't erase the moments when my absence felt like abandonment. But I can tell you this, I carry them with me now like scars carved into my soul. Scars that remind me every day of the woman I let fight alone, when I should have been her shield. I remember one night, after it all came crashing down, I sat alone in my room, the house dark, everyone asleep, and I replayed the sound of my mother's voice defending you. It echoed in my chest, louder than anything my ex had ever said. Don't talk about her like that. 6 simple words, but they were thunder, but they were lightning. They were judgment and grace all at once, and in that silence that followed, I realized something that broke me. I should have been the one to say it. I should have been the one standing tall, silencing the lies, declaring your worth. And the fact that I didn't will forever be one of my greatest regrets. Baby, this is the last thing I need you to hear, the final confession that has been burning inside my chest. I never thought you were my type because I didn't know what love really was until I met you. I thought love was about who looked good standing beside me, who could make me feel powerful, who could make me feel desired without demanding that I grow. But you were never here to flatter me. You were here to transform me, and that is why I ran. Because transformation hurts. It burns away the boy who hides and demands the man who shows up. You saw the man in me long before I did, and now I finally see him too. And I owe that to you. Baby, I want you to know something sacred. Your absence didn't erase you. It amplified you. It made me realize that every smile I forced without you was hollow. Every night I spent pretending to move on was a performance. Every excuse I made to convince myself you weren't what I wanted shattered the moment my mother defended you out loud. Because in that instant I realized what heaven had been trying to show me all along. You weren't just meant for me. You were meant to be seen, honored, chosen, and defended. And I swear, if I ever get the chance again, I will never let your name be anything less than holy in my mouth. This is my vow. I choose you, not in secret, not in silence, not only when it's convenient. I choose you in front of my family. I choose you in front of my past. I choose you in front of every mistake I've made. I choose you because love like this isn't found twice. You weren't my type. You are my destiny, and I will spend the rest of my life proving that destiny deserves reverence, loyalty, and protection. And if you never return, if distance keeps us apart, I will still carry you with honor. I will still protect your name. I will still thank God every day that I got to taste even a fraction of what divine love feels like. Because baby, you taught me that real love doesn't shrink. It grows, it protects, it declares, and I will never again settle for anything less. So here I am, no longer hiding, no longer pretending, just a man stripped of pride, speaking the one truth I can never escape. I love you, and I will love you until my very last breath. If this message spoke to your heart, if it felt like it was meant for you, let it be a sign. Comment below, share your feelings, and claim the love story your soul has been waiting for. And beloved family, if you want to help this channel continue to grow and reach more hearts, please consider pressing the super thanks button below the video. Even a small support helps us keep creating these messages and maintaining the channel. Every offering will return to you multiplied with divine blessings. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell icon so you never miss a new message, and share this with someone who needs to feel love spoken into their spirit today. You are never alone. You are always loved, baby. Until we meet again, remember this. You weren't just my type. You were my truth, and my truth will always be you.